That's my kitty. Always smiling, even though she works with dummies all day.
You're free to find the
Ah! I'm fighting with my own overlay. Oh wow, it's me and me. Hi guys. What a transformation. Never mind Transformation Tuesdays, am I right? Am I right, ladies? Oh my goodness, hello. Greetings. Thank you very much, everyone, for being patient. The software that I'm using, actually, it doesn't seem to be my software because I was speaking with Dave, and he's saying he's having some issues as well with it logging out of YouTube for some bizarre reason. Probably because myself and Dave are both jumping between the two accounts. But anyway, regardless, thank you so much for being patient and waiting. I'm just going to move my camera because my bed's a mess. Hang on. There we go. That's much better. Now you're not going to see as much mess. Hello, my darlings. Welcome to Sounds Queer. Oh, it's been a while, right? We've got some beautiful things for you today. We've got some lovely chats. We've got some music videos to play. We got some people to speak to. I don't know why I'm speaking in this voice, but here we are. If anybody is watching right now, please let me know in the chat. That things are all going okay for you, that you can hear everything, that things are good. And actually, before I forget, let me turn on this little... doohickey. Actually, can anyone even hear me? Oh, wait, nobody can yet. Hang on. Nobody can. Oh, no, you can. You can hear me. I think. Can you? Can you hear me? Can anyone hear me? Video input. Yeah. Sorry guys, bear with me 1 second. Not entirely sure why it's coming out of there, but perfect, thank you, my darling. You should be hearing the background music as well. Can you hear a little bit of background music? This is very weird. Can you hear that? Oh, hello guys, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being patient. Can you hear a little bit of background music? Does it sound like it's actually on the stream? Why is technology complicated, man? But yeah, I'll get started. As I said, thank you guys so much for being patient. I have some beautiful guests for you this evening. I'm just gonna turn this down a little bit so it's not as distracting. Sounds fine, beautiful. So yeah, this is Sounds Queer. You probably already know I've done a few little episodes of this before. I've done like a little podcasty thing. There will be a podcast and stream of Sounds Queer coming very, very soon. So what I've said is to follow me on IamJTLeon on Instagram to keep up with updates on that. Sounds Queer is going to be a music-focused podcast that speaks to people, LGBTQ people that work in the music industry as writers, event organizers, and generally to talk about queer people in the music industry and highlight queer champions of music, the entertainment industry, arts and culture, and just generally to, you know, have a little bit of a laugh, talk about music and art things, and talk about our kind of creative expression and what's going on. So it's going to be full of that. That's what the next couple of hours are going to be full of. As I said before, we're going to be watching some music videos of a friend of mine who I will introduce very, very soon. She's a beautiful soul. I will wait until she's on so I can kind of let her tell you her own story, as it were. I am going to quickly remove the share screen because otherwise I will lose my damn mind. There we go. Oh, so much better. Ooh. Wow. My room is a mess. So yeah, we're going to get started very, very soon. And we're going to talk to her. She is a Bath-based singer-songwriter and producer, and as I've said, I'm going to let her kind of tell his story, and we're going to play some of her new tracks, including a music video, and yeah, we're going to talk about her creative expression and her journey as a LGBT identifying music artist and as a woman working in the music industry. So with that in mind, I think it is time to introduce the beautiful, the wonderful, the very, very talented and gorgeous me. No, Karenza! Karenza! Wait. It should work.
Hi.
It should work. Is it going to work?
Hi.
Oh, hi!
Hi. Greetings.
Hi. Bear with me 1 second, my darling, because I've got a feeling it's not picking this up quite yet. Hang on. My question is, why is it playing out loud? Sorry, bear with me one sec, hey? I'm just gonna turn your mic, your cam off again. Put it back on. I don't understand why I can hear myself back. It shouldn't be happening. Sorry guys, thank you for being patient while I sort this out. Yeah, you can see me fine. It's okay. We could see Karenza and hear her too. Yeah, I'm sorry, it's just, you know what it is when Karenza was speaking, I can hear her out of another speaker. So I'm just going to try and quickly sort that out. Didn't have this issue before, which is weird, so it's weird that it's coming up now. Very, very interesting. Just don't think that'll make a difference. Oh, okay, testing, testing. Are we back? Are we live? Are we all good? It should be working now. Let me know. It's picking up on my end. We will reintroduce Karenza in it. Thank you guys so much for being patient. Today has been technically interesting. Let's just say that. A little bit of a check in chat. We all doing good? Can you guys still hear me okay? All good, perfect. Well, my question is, why isn't this music playing out the same way? Beautiful. Okay, guys, I'm just going to do one more thing and then everything should be good to go. So bear with me one sec. Okay. Beautiful. It's a rockin' Saturday evening. That it is, Jack Buckland. Thank you for being here. And Rob, hello, hello, hello. Is there a little bit of chill music playing in the background? Because for some reason it's not coming up on my thing, which is very weird. There should be a little bit of low music in the background. If it's not working, I'll just turn it off. I'm just, you know. And then we can reintroduce Karenza. Yay! Finally! I have 2 guests as well. Oh, you lucky people. So can we hear a little bit of the chill music in the background? Is it actually there or not? Yeah, I can hear it, and it's an okay volume. It's just a little bit. It's just for a little bit of ambience, but it's weird. I can't hear any of it, which is a bit strange. But as long as it works, all is good. So, with that in mind, I bring back to the stage Corenza. You're back. You're here.
Look away for 1 second.
For some reason, I can't hear you. What is going on with this computer? Why? Hang on. Speak to me?
Greetings.
No.
Oh.
Why is it doing this? Um.
Can other people hear me?
Hello?
Greetings.
I can hear you!
Yes.
Yay!
Hi. Yes.
I am so... Literally, everything was fine before, and it was like... No, I'm
We
sure,
just
like...
tested everything.
I know, literally, just to clarify as well, for anybody that thinks I'm a little bit work shy, me and Corenza, and then me and our next guest, which I won't say, have been, oh my god, trying to... We tested, everything worked fine, audio was good, and then literally came on, YouTube was like, I'm not having it. I'm not having you stream this. This is gay content. I won't have it. No, that's not the reason. It just was having a bit of a mare. And then YouTube's homophobic, okay? YouTube's homophobic. You hear that, YouTube? Homophobic. And then, yeah, it was having a bit of a problem with sound, so that was fun. With all that being said, everybody in the chat, please make some noise for the wonderful Corenza. Woo, 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 woo! Yes! Corenza, my darling, obviously me and you know each other, but for the people that don't know who you are, in terms of what you create in the world, do you want to kind of give people a little bit of a summary of what you like to make, what kind of stuff you like to do, and yeah, just tell people who may never have heard of you before, who is Corenza? What do you do?
Who am I? Hi, I'm Corenza. I have recently started calling myself genre fluid. I get bored in one genre, so I merge them all together. But yeah, I do music and stuff. When there's so much that you don't really know where to start, so let's just call me genre fluidy, and I do all of the musics, and I make the sound waves, and I make them, and then people listen to them sometimes, if they so choose.
If they so choose. Myself and you have known each other for years now. We both went to university together. We were in different years. And remember, we actually first met when our university course paired us together for some mentoring thing. It was that long ago. Yeah, that was actually... So we'd already met briefly beforehand. And then basically, I was making, slightly left field music. And Pete and Jim were both like, I know who to pair JT with. And then literally paired me with you. And I was like, that's so funny. Because as I said, we already kind of knew each other. We kind of I think, listened to each other's tracks. We'd spoken to each other a few times. And then I came over to your house, where you are now. And we were just talking about music and, certain things that funnily enough, certain things that you'd found out about Instagram and certain things that you could do well. Which is really funny. Why is that particularly funny, Corenza, especially with what our relationship is at the moment?
Because you're helping me with my digital marketing.
Yes. So, with that in mind, to clarify for people a little bit further, recently, some of you might know, outside of the stream that I do and music that I make, my day job, as it were, at the moment, is working for a music PR company here in Bristol, and I've also taken on a couple of clients. And Corenza basically contacted me and was like, "Hey, do you want to do some promotion and just kind of work with me on these releases and kind of help motivate me?" Because if anyone doesn't know, the releasing music process is long and can be difficult, and by the time Karen's nodding in agreement. Like, by the time you've actually put something out into the world, it can feel really exhausting to kind of keep the energy up. And so just before we play one of your music videos, the music video for Summer, where has this kind of music, where is this love of actually writing and composing your own music? Where would you say that came from, or where do you think you kind of channel the most inspiration from, music-wise, right now?
Oh my god. Well, music's literally been like breathing to me. I know that sounds cliche, but it's literally, I chose to become a musician when I was 3 years old. So there's a lot of drunk people outside my house right now.
They're having a great Saturday.
A great time. But yeah, I chose to be a musician when I was 3 years old, and I like stuck with it. I was really lucky to have parents that would encourage me to actually pursue a music career. So I ended up like picking up different instruments, and I started like classical training in piano, violin, a Chinese instrument called the guzheng. I picked up other instruments along the way, bit of flute. I picked up guitar, drums, like the lot really. I had like an incredible mom who just consistently like supported and helped me explore that. And at first, classical music and playing like, you know, Mozart and everything was a great way of expressing myself, but then it felt like there were lots of rules, and that started to feel more and more restricting the older I got, and the more I get told off for embellishing a sonata. So that was a legit problem I had.
Me too. That's why I'm laughing. Me too. I was like, but this is boring. Can I not like improvise in this bit?
What's he gonna do? Come back from the grave and like correct me and be like, no, I wrote it like that. No. So I ended up coming to England, and I was still classically trained and everything. I was in Beijing when I grew up and like was doing music stuff and classically trained. Anyway, I came to England, and it kind of opened me up to commercial music a bit more. And I remember going and doing like music at Bath College, and it was the first time I'd seen an amp up close, and I was like, oh my god, you plug things into this? Like, this makes things loud? You do the strum, like what? And then I did I got into the singer-songwriting side of things, and then like towards the end of my time at uni, I started to like explore production a bit more, and like I realized that like creating my own soundscapes and writing and producing and recording at the same time was the most like authentic outlet, if that makes sense. So now
Entirely.
That's kind of where I'm at, and I deliberately break the rules, and there's no piano teacher telling me off for embellishing.
I love that, and actually,
I trust myself now.
No, that's perfect. And I think as well, I mean, obviously we already got a couple of your fan base in here. We have Jack and we have Rob. Just to jump in with some of these messages. Jack says, Karenza playing guzheng is something to behold, I tell you what. Also, for anybody noting, yes, I always do say that instrument name with a French accent. For some reason, even though it is a traditional Chinese instrument, I don't know why, Karenza always laughs at me, and rightfully so, because for some reason I can't pronounce it correctly, and it's really irritating. Rob says, it's not embellishment, it's jazz. And Jack Buckland says, BA1 crew, you know how it do. I would like to make this suggestion also for anybody watching this from Bath, England, especially if you went to Bath Spa University, by saying one simple phrase, which is, Bath Spa, we go hard.
Oh my god.
I won't play that on this stream, and maybe we'll see. We'll see what time. We'll see what we do for time. But what I want to do just before we play this video is, you talked a little bit about, obviously you came from this classical background. Beatrixie's saying no, stop JT. You talked about coming from this classical background, and obviously myself and you've been working really closely in promoting this new EP and making sure that kind of what you do in terms of social media and everything is giving you the best, you know, chance for success. I guess what I wanted to ask you in that regard was, we talked a lot about Summer, which is what we're going to play in a minute. And it's one track from your new EP coming out that's very soon. that is, you were always described right from the off as more poppy, more kind of engaged, more kind of commercial sounding. And I guess what's interesting to me is, what was it about Summer when you were producing it and when you were writing it, coming from the background that you do, that kind of brought in, it is such a pop record, but it's got you all over it. It really, really does. Talk to me a little bit about the process of kind of where you came from in regards to landing on something like Summer and making the track Summer.
Honestly, I don't know. I normally, when I start to write a song, I often have like a line, or I'll be doing something mundane, and like a melody or something, like it will just pop in my head, and I will be like, I'm gonna have to make that now, like, and I'll sit down and I go through like the plugin I use the most, because I use Logic Pro, and the plugin I use the most is Arturia, and they have a whole library of sounds, and that usually I'll like go through and I'll tweak them so they sound like different to like the original preset, because like, yeah, and then you end up basically like with the actual sound, it almost sparks ideas in that. Do you know what I mean? When the
exactly
sound inspires the writing process, you know? And I don't know, it just kind of felt right. And the next thing I know, I'm making that. That's why I don't know how to stay in one genre, because it depends entirely on my mood, in what random thought train just appears when I hear a random sound. It's one of those things. It's a brainchild from different moods.
I understand exactly what you mean. I really, really do. And I think now is no, that's brilliant. And I think as well, what I think maybe a lot of people might not know about yourself, or certainly in terms of the music industry, it's becoming obviously a lot more common now in terms of the way that music software and things have become accessible, for this rise in what we've described before. And we talked about this, the bedroom producer, people who are with, even a fairly basic amount of kit, you can construct these incredible things. And in the case of yourself, it's what you've been doing for a while, isn't it? You've been kind of slowly building up and exploring more and more threads, and now in so many ways you are self-sufficient as a music artist, which has been incredible over lockdown. What I would love to do is play the music video for Summer, and then bring you back, and we're going to introduce in Stu, who is our next guest, and we'll be having a little bit of a chat with him, introducing him, and then we're going to talk more generally about sounds queer type topics, including coming out stories, experiences of kind of queer creativity and expression and pride. But first, let us enjoy a little bit of Summer by the wonderful Carenza, which I'm about to play any second now. Here. Here we go, finally. wonderful Summer by Carenza. Ooh, let me just turn this microphone up. Oh my goodness, so quiet. Apologies for the video buffer in there. I think it was just having a bit of a moment. But we good. It worked. Oh, hello. You're back. Yeah. So
Well,
that
greetings.
was Summer by Carenza. Greetings, my darling. Yeah. Sorry again about the buffer in there. I think this kind of software is a bit hit and miss. It's all a bit of an experiment today. But you know what's really nice is after obviously myself and you working on that and you putting so much heart and hard work, blood, sweat, and tears into that track, how beautifully it out. Um, talk to me a little bit about the themes of summer.
It's about my. I'm not gonna. About,
Spill the tea.
about my. I'm just gonna say X and not use any descriptive words. But yeah, it was a very toxic relationship, and it went downhill like real fast. And basically, you know, when you're like in the love bubble at the beginning of a relationship and you're just there like, oh my God,
Oh yeah.
everything's amazing. This person's like doing all these grand gestures, and like 3 months in, I was like, okay, I don't like this dude anymore. So I, you know, and we broke up like within a year. And the summer after the summer we got together, I used descriptive words. No, no, don't tempt me. And I, yeah, I looked back and I was like, when I look back, that whole summer that I lived is a whole darker summer in my head. Those grand gestures, that was love bombing. It wasn't romantic. It was love bombing. I was being gaslit, manipulated, the lot really. So when I say we had different summers, I'm actually singing to my past self. Like, you know, it's kind of like summer 2019. I'm like, oh my God, this is so sweet. 2020 summer, I'm like, oh honey, no. No, 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 no. So yeah, I made a song so I'd at least capitalize off the trauma.
You got to make that money off the trauma. That's what you got to
Exactly.
do.
Exactly.
Um,
What else is the point?
exactly. It's funny actually because in relation to talking about relationships, and as you said, capitalizing off the trauma. I don't know whether I told you this at the time, but I remember when you first sent me the demo or something of the song, and I heard the first kind of that chorus line of, or maybe actually, I think you sent me the lyric, and it was "We have different summers, babe, but mine was a little bit dimmer than yours." And it's funny because I knew that you were kind of talking about relationship, and me and you obviously were friends. We were talking about what was going on at the time. But I remembered actually, and obviously people will do this with music. That's the power of music. You will associate it sometimes. Well, you'll move it away from the writer's initial meaning into something kind of new for you, right? That's the kind of power of music and art, isn't it? That it's polysemic, as we call it. It has multiple meanings, multiple layers, depending on who's experiencing it, etc. And I don't think I actually ever told you this, but it was funny because when I first heard it, I had only kind of in the past few years, as you've known, I'd gone through like a breakup myself, and I was like, do I want to be in relationships anymore? I don't really know. And I remember hearing that song and thinking about the guy that I was dating at the time. And again, we dated over the summer period, and I started to very much fall for him, and it was as if he was falling out with me at the same time.
Mm.
And I remember hearing that lyric and being like, "Holy shit!" Like that's, we had different summers, babe, but mine was a little bit different than yours. It was almost like that's what he was saying to me, type of thing. And so it's funny because I think your music and any kind of song about, or a love song, of course, can be, or a song about love, can be about people sometimes of any gender, of any expression. And obviously we know in this case in terms of, well, I know like obviously who you were talking about. But what I wanted to know in regards to kind of music writing and things is obviously I know that you are a member of the LGBT community, and I'd like to kind of ask you about that a little bit in a minute, and also how it you think it's impacted, kind of coming out, how you think it's impacted your music, and how it's impacted how you navigate the world as an artist and as a person. So if you want to just kind of, I'll let you kind of tell your story in that angle. How was your relationship with being kind of LGBT and as an artist?
Well, I've been out for like a year now as bi. Um, it's weird saying that like in front of people still.
I know, right? It gets, yeah, it'll get easier, trust me. I've been out for like 11 years, so it's like you're like by the end you're like yeah, I'm this,
The
like
novelty
whatever.
worn off.
Yeah, the novelty's totally worn off. You're like, yeah, yeah, could you not tell? You know, it's one of those. Becomes funny to you. Sorry, continue.
Well, that's the thing though. Like, I don't know. I always, not always knew I was, but I didn't for a long time. I remember like being like, yeah, I'm straight. Like, I just admire girls. They're just really pretty. I just want to like make them food and buy them presents and love them forever and have a dog with them and maybe like, love them for the rest of my life. But I'm straight. Like I that's the kind of like mindset I was in. And it was just so obvious. I was not straight. It
I
was
love
like
that.
so obvious to absolutely everybody around me. And then I realized that I was queer when I was in a relationship with a guy. And like at the time I was like, okay, well, this is gonna be a relationship for the rest of my life. I'm just gonna like I'll die in the closet. I'll maybe tell him on my deathbed. Like
Gotcha.
it's fine. And the reason I really struggled to come out wasn't because I didn't understand that about myself. Like I accepted it about myself. I was worried that it wouldn't be accepted by others. I think that, you know, through no fault of her own, like she's like the loveliest human being. I have so much love for her. But my mum is a really important figure in my life. And due to, just certain factors and religion and just because we never really had a conversation about any of that. It wasn't an open topic when I was growing up. To me, when I was growing up in school, in the media, queer was a bad word. Queer was something you were made fun of. And my mum knows that I have like depression. I have received a lot of bullying over the years from certain other things. And I was like, I can't add another thing on. And I didn't know how she would react. And I thought, yes, I'm queer, but I can't be openly queer unless I've told my mum because she is such an important person in my life. Like, I cannot live a double life like that. I cannot. That's too much. And it's disrespectful in my eyes to her because all she's ever done is love and care for me and help me with pursuing my music. So I remember like at one point I actually thought like, because I was so scared, I have anxiety as well. So I was just so scared and I was thinking all the things that could go wrong. And I like came out and I told her in lockdown and it went well. And I've been able to like be open since. And I I struggled for years to write songs that were truly authentic because I was worried they would out me.
Yes.
I was scared that I would accidentally start writing about a girl and my mum would be able to tell. And I didn't want her to find out in that way. So I wanted to wait until she knew before everyone else knew. It was funny though, because everybody I told in my circle, like my close friends knew, like you've known for years, you were one of the first people I told. And you were, in fact, probably, I think you were like one of the first two people I messaged when I came out to my mum. And I was like crying and because it went well.
Yeah.
I was literally there like, okay, this is it. Like, I'm alone in life now. I've said it, and I was like, oh my God, this went well.
I remember, and obviously not trying to take the story away from you in that way. I remember the when you messaged me about how your mum had responded, and I remember you were crying and I was crying, and like it was just this lovely moment because like anything, when you hear somebody's kind of coming out experience or somebody's speaking their truth about their identity for the first time to people who are very important to them. And in your case, your mum is incredibly important to you. Um, and it being such a hard thing, um, that joy that we get as queer people, especially, or any minority, when we see somebody else being loved or accepted, can be such a powerful thing. And I remember it moved me so much because obviously, you're one of my closest friends, but it was the power of being, of your mum being like, okay, I'm not quite like 100% in terms of understanding what I probably need to understand to
Mm.
communicate with you about this and to but it was that thing of like, what if you don't mind me asking, she said something specific to you and it literally made me sob and I
I
can't
think
remember what it was.
she said you can be yourself now.
Oh my God, don't, because I remember when you told me that, and yeah, because obviously you were getting upset,
That
and
was
I
just
remember you
really
told
nice.
me, and she was like, but it's okay, you can be yourself now, and like, I died. I was like, okay, I'm out, like, goodbye. And obviously we know there are stories of things, um, of people that don't have so good experiences and things like that, but I think what I'm hoping, and we'll talk a little bit with our next guest that we're going to have in just a minute as well, about these coming out experiences. Um, I'm hoping that us being visible, whether we are, especially in the music industry, which in many ways seems like this, open industry because people will often go, oh, the arts are so much more open, but music. We'll talk a little bit with Stu when he comes on in a minute, about this. The music industry, even within the queer community, within that, can be a little bit restrictive, and it's just because of the way people are with stereotypes and with the way that we feel that we have to fit into a faction a little bit sometimes, and we're a little bit tribal. Um, but when I bring Stu on, I want to kind of talk about that with both of you. Um, so, firstly, I just want to say thank you very much for sharing that with us. Obviously, stick around because we're bringing Stu on. We're going to be chatting to Stu in just a minute. I'm just going to read out some of these messages before we continue on and invite Stu in. So, Beatrixie says, Yas, Queen, get that coin. We have Rob
Capitalism of
Hinks saying,
trauma.
oh, that's so sweet. I think when you were talking about coming out and your experience with your mum. We have the wonderful Super Chris World, my baby, saying a podcast, wow, awesome, absolutely. Exciting times. And Jack Buckland says, I was so proud to hear that you come out when we had our huge catch up recently. I didn't even know you'd been confronting that, and I'm very happy that you've taken that step. And I think this ties really perfectly into some of the stuff we're going to be talking about with Stu and with the music industry, where we're talking about, you kind of mentioned there about representation, and how the word queer was dirty and that you didn't know people and things weren't taught. And of course, things like this, your visibility, your sharing of these stories, the work that you do, the art that you create, the stuff that I create and do, and the stuff that Stu does, and everybody here, having discussions and talking with people is such a powerful thing, because we all kind of influence and bring each other up by sharing each other's stories. With that in mind, I'm going to bring on my next guest, the wonderful, the incredibly talented musical guru of Bristol. I can see him now on the little camera laughing. I can see you, Stu. We're going to bring on my wonderful friend Stu, who he'll kind of explain things as he goes along, but he is the founder of an incredible night here in Bristol, an alt punk night called Punker. If you've seen one of my Instagram snaps recently, I had a t-shirt on from Punker and I looked pretty hot, not gonna lie. But they're incredible. I will let Stu tell you all about Punker and we'll talk about the queer music scene and diversity even within the queer community and music, and then we're all going to geek out. So I would like to introduce you all to the wonderful Stu Freeman.
Hello.
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 Wait,
How's it
should
going?
we? I can make a few. Oh, I don't like me being so massive. That's not nice. Hang
But you're
on.
free.
Wait, can we? What's better? What works for you guys? Do you know what?
That's
Vote in the
fine.
comments. What works for you? This works fine. We'll just have to
Whatever
make
I
sure we're like
understand.
this. I have to breathe in. It's because you're the center of our universe, Carenza. We love you.
Oh.
So everyone, give it up for Stu in the chat. Stu,
Hello.
same question. Quite simply, tell us about what you do in regards to being a creative person, being a queer identifying person, and yeah, tell us what Stu Freeman and Punker Bristol is all about.
Sure. Well, I mean, like you were talking about, in terms of coming out stories. Everyone's coming out story is completely different. Everyone's journey is different. I turned 40 a couple of weeks ago, and I didn't come out until I was 33.
Right.
So it was a long time for me. It's like insert crappy origin story. We don't need to go into that. But and so when I did, I started going to various, gay pubs, bars, clubs, things like that, and was trying to find my space and understand what was going on and where I fit and just like who these people were, basically. I found that most of the places I was going, all of the club nights and all of the music was tended to be geared towards cis white gay men. It was all very pop music, pop princesses. It was all very surface, and I, as much as all music has its place, it does, and
Absolutely.
it's just the thing is, for me, it didn't resonate with me at all. I was always into rock, indie. I was into lots of like really sort of dark music and like chilled out music, all sorts of things, and I just didn't feel like there was anything that I wanted to go to that really represented me. And I also couldn't find many queer women to talk to and befriend. So, so in the beginning, in 2017, so me and my friends set up Punker as a way to have a bit more sort of alternative scene in Bristol, and have a club night where people could go and listen to the music that they actually listen to, whether it be indie rock, punk, a little bit of metal, all sorts of things like that, a bit of electro. And also, we wanted it to be an indie night where it was basically trying to focus on female-fronted bands. Because every time I've ever been to an indie night, the poster has always been like The Killers and Green Day and Blur and Oasis and all, all that stuff. And then it might have like a tiny mention of maybe Paramore. And
just in like teeny tiny font
just
at
a
the bottom.
smidge. There might be a little bit, like a little bit of Hayley's hair on the poster, and so we were full on, like, we're gonna represent female fronted bands as much as we can, and queer bands as well. So we were playing a lot of like Gossip and Skunk Anansie, like people like that, and stuff, and that's kind of where it snowballed. And then after doing a couple of punker nights, and I got to realize that lots of people were coming up to me and sort of thanking me for setting up the night, which was amazing. But they were also saying, I'm in a band and it's so difficult to get gigs when you're female and you just get put on like the opening slot. So
yes.
Years ago, I was a manager of a band, so I got to the point where I was like, actually, I need to put my money where my mouth is and just start putting on punker gigs. So I did. So all of the punker gigs so far have been as diverse as I possibly can get them. And they're always usually three bands. So we have three bands, and if someone's from out of town, we put them on second so that people come and stay for all the three bands and don't just chip off once their mates have played. And also, I wanted to do something really different with the gigs and make sure that when you come to a punker night, it's like completely different to any other gig. So we started having a drag king or queen as a host. So whenever you turn up, you get a bit more information from this drag persona. You also get that little bit of sort of cabaret, and you get a lot of like all sorts of basically different things going on in one night. So it feels more like an occasion than just a gig kind of thing. Oh, there's Claire.
Got
Hello.
you. I know. I just
So
noticed that. I was literally about to highlight. I didn't even know I could do this until literally just now. I was like, wait, you can highlight
oh,
messages?
honestly,
Whoa, blowing my mind.
like
So
Claire
Claire
is.
says, virtual hug to you. That's
I miss
amazing.
them so much. um,
Uh,
so yeah, I mean, does that explain kind of what it does?
Absolutely, it does. Absolutely, and actually, I mean, in our little test call that we had before to make sure things were working, I said to you that I had a little bit of news for you, which probably isn't
Yes.
exciting to anyone else, but to me and you, but it's still quite funny. Um, Before I do though, to lead up to that, I want you to tell me about because obviously we've got the live events of Punker.
Sure.
But I want you to tell me a little bit about something that happened recently that was pretty
Yeah, of course.
cool. And I
Yeah.
was like, hello? Because it was just like, it was just just an incredible thing. I mean, now obviously I'm going to find that really exciting. But if you could
Sure.
just tell us about the most recent kind of music thing that happened with Punker and tell us about
Yeah,
that.
yeah, it was a bit of a strange one. So at the beginning of May, I got contacted by a girl who was on Instagram and basically said, "I can't find like an official email for you or anything like that, but I work at Spotify and we really want to collaborate with Punker on an official Spotify playlist for Pride Month."
So
And I
cool.
was like instantly like, what is this? What is this mess? What are you doing? Like this must be some.
Like that,
There
who
must be
is
a
this
catch.
bot? Yeah.
Yeah, it was really really odd, and she was lovely. Like shout out to Shannon, she's been absolutely fantastic, and she basically explained that at some point she had been to a Punker night and just really enjoyed it, and
Wow.
had she basically said that she had just such a wonderful night and it felt like such a sort of loving environment, and as soon as she was given the task of creating like some Pride playlists for Spotify UK, she thought of Punker, and I was just like, like that's nuts. So
That's great.
it was going to be a collaborative thing, and she just said, "Send me whatever you can. Send me a playlist of what you think you'd want to put on a Pride playlist." And so basically, half of it was like punker bangers that I usually play in my DJ sets. I'd say DJ in inverted commas, and then and then the other half was like either bands that we'd had on at Punker who'd already played, or like dream bookings if I had the money, and yeah, and when I sent it over, she was like, "This is fantastic. I don't need to add anything to this. Let's just leave it at that," kind of thing.
Wow.
And obviously, certain things got cut down and everything because I sent her a lot of songs. But yeah, it was crazy. And then she had a look on the Punker Facebook and found a picture of the drag queen Delirium. Shout out to Delirium, who's performing at Slaughterhouse tonight. And we used that as the cover, and it all fell into place. It was nuts, and it's been around the world as well. It's got like over 1,000 people following it, and it's
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 near
pretty.
2,000 now, as far as I'm aware.
It might be. It's just nuts. It's
I
really
think it
strange.
is. Yeah, the last time I
I mean, the
checked.
best thing about it. So when they asked me about what the story was of Punker, and like just to put a bit of a blurb together and stuff. And I think Shannon must have sent it to other people in her department. And one of the higher ups at Spotify wanted to donate to Punker, so they donated a pretty decent amount of money to Punker so that I can put on more shows once the pandemic is over.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's helped me, and so that to me is like,
Congratulations. That's
that's
amazing
how
news.
to do Pride Month right. If you're a corporation that's going to put your a rainbow on your logo for 29 days,
Damn right.
then do you know what I mean? That's you better be putting your money where your mouth is, and they did. Fair play. They actually helped me out, which was incredible, and it is going to help out. It's going to help me, and it's going to help a lot of performers and bands, and
Absolutely.
so yeah, that's what happened this summer, which was
Well, shout out to Spotify firstly, and Shannon at Spotify for
yeah.
being, such an incredible kind of just having great insight. And I mean, when I found out about the Spotify playlist, I almost like wasn't surprised. but I was also just really no. But I mean, what I mean is, I was still like, "Whoa, this is incredible." But the reason I wasn't surprised, sadly, one big element of why I wasn't surprised is maybe my my worldview of queer events is still limited. But in the UK, I've lived in a few major cities now. I'm from Liverpool. I've lived in Bath. I've been to London and Manchester quite a few times. I now live in Bristol. And in terms of queer events, and especially stuff that relates to an alternative indie scene that is much more inclusive of trans, non-binary people, of queer women, in terms of like inclusion of drag kings, queer people of color, the overall outlook of that event being authentically inclusive. I haven't seen it. And so I remember kind of when I first heard about Punker, and it's irritating because before lockdown, did I want to go to 1,000,001 events of Punker? Yes. Did I have the cash or time? No. I was like, I finished my master's degree, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go out and party and go to Punker and woo. And then it was literally like, oh my god, I have a job. And then 2 months later, oh my god, I don't have a job. And I can't go to any events, and I have to just like lock myself in. So, I mean, the thing I wanted to add on to what you said about the Spotify playlist is I both love and hate you for this playlist, and I'll tell you why. Well, no, actually, I don't hate you at all. The playlist, ever since it's come out, I'm not gonna lie, I've had it on repeat.
Nice.
And I actually, from the playlist, you have 2 songs by the band Skunk Anansi on that playlist. I then went down a rabbit hole of Skunk Anansi, and then about 3 days later, I bought a ticket to go and see Skunk Anansi in Bristol.
I am also going to that gig.
I know you are. So I was like, gig buddies. But actually, I mean, this will kind of come back to kind of Carenza briefly as well about that kind of the queer and female experience or woman experience being in music. Excuse me. I remember again hearing, Skunk Anansi, and for anybody who doesn't know who they are, they're a band with a queer black woman at the center of the band who has this just beautiful voice that's like a mixture. It's got that real rock sensibility to it, but it's just got this absolute richness to it. The lyrics, everything about the music, just immediately I was like, this is one of those. I'm not somebody that after 3 days of listening to someone, I am going to go and buy a ticket of them. I'm quite will listen to a band I've never heard before, or I'll pay a lot of money to see an artist I really, really love, for an example. I kind of tend to go for one or the other just because of money availability mostly. But literally, I was like, I must listen to this. And one of the reasons why I fell in love with Skunk Anansi, and I think one of the reasons why outside of mine and Karenza's friendship that I love the work that Karenza does, or a big piece of it, is because the voice, not even the vocal, but the actual creative voice at the center of Skunk Anansi, or what you do, Karenza, is naturally unique. And not just because, oh, you're unique because you're a woman and you're bi and whatever, but because all of the elements of who you are, including your background, really paint a unique picture of a human experience. And we don't see these people enough, even within, popular music culture. And so I guess bringing that back to you, Karenza, I wanted to ask you a little bit about how you have felt as, and we've talked about this a little bit before, myself and you, how you felt as a woman and a queer woman in the industry, and especially being of both Chinese and British kind of nationality. How, we've talked a little bit before about obstacles and things that you've faced kind of within the music industry and then the outskirts of the social elements of the industry. Could you kind of talk a little bit about what your experience has been like?
Well, it's already hard, tricky, like being a woman in the industry. People don't take you seriously. You say I'm an artist or a musician, and they're like, oh, so you sing? You're a singer? And I'm like, okay. In fact, I'm not going to say what publication, but a publication tweeted that they were like promoting me, but they called me a singer. And I'm like, like really like, oh, But
Did they
there's
call
all-
you a songstress? I've heard that one
what is
before.
this 1800?
Songstress, and it's like, oh, I'm sorry. I think they should call you what you are, which is a siren. And if anyone doesn't know what that is, that's a mermaid luring men to their death, which is pretty
luring
good
men
description.
who call me a singer to their death. But
Sorry, carry on.
but no, I guess it's already tricky enough to be like not to be taken seriously as a woman. Something that did cross my mind. I haven't had that many experiences as a queer or like openly queer person in the world just yet, because I've only been out a year and I came out in lockdown and I was just kind of sat in my living room like, well, what now? Like,
what do I do with this?
like, yeah, I literally put on my rainbow dungarees and sat there and was like, well, what do I do now? Like, we're in a
I get to be gay in my home. Yay! Yeah, exactly.
I have like observed, if that makes sense. And I've observed like you already get a lot of jokes about giving sexual favors as a woman in the music industry. And I was thinking, oh, if I come out as bi, I bet that's gonna like definitely it's
amplify.
Not happened, but it you know, it's in the back of your mind, because being bi and a queer woman, often it's sexualized, because of course queerness isn't valid unless, you know, it's for the like
the male gaze.
Male gaze. Yeah, there's all of that. So I was definitely a little bit anxious about that. Thankfully nothing's happened, but like I've seen people make comments at queer women and like not take it seriously. Like I remember like I don't know. Sorry, I'm like my brain's going off on one now.
No, that's fine. That's what this is for. Are you just seeing Jack's message?
I am. You're a songer.
You're a songer, not a singer.
I like that.
For God's sake, Jack.
That needs to be on a t-shirt.
It does. You're not a singer. You're a songer. We also have a message. We have a message from Dowie Demon here over on my I am JT Lee on Twitch as well, saying, I'm loving all the pretty lights in these video feeds. What can we say, Dowie? We have great taste. But also Pride Month. I'm sorry, I'm going to stereotype queer people here now. Are you really queer if you don't have ambient low lighting in your rooms? Probably not. I think you might want to kind of, you know, look at the Kinsey scale, have a little think about yourself, you know, because you might be straight. Do you know what that sounded like? Do you know when those adverts are like, have you, I can't even say it without laughing. Have you been in an accident that wasn't your fault with a heterosexual person? You might be entitled to compensation. That's what that sounded like. And do you know what makes it even worse is the fact that I'm wearing a call center style fucking headset. Like, you may be entitled to compensation. Wow. Yeah. I love that. Thank you for kind of sharing that with us. In regards to the kind of limitations that you felt, and certainly, I mean, I think that the key word there, the word that stuck out for me the most, was that thing of sexualization, right? And obviously we've heard of many cases in the music industry in recent years, especially. One that always comes to my mind is the Kesha lawsuit against Dr. Luke, in regards to her basically trying to say, or you know, taking Dr. Luke to court and being like, I want out of this contract. Dr. Luke has been sexually assaulting me and I am locked in and I'm trapped. And it was one of the reasons why she was not legally allowed to produce music for a number of years. And obviously we're talking there about the kind of the major label aspect of the music industry. But like any music industry, I really think that the core element that is often missing when I keep looking at the threads of all of these things that happen in music is I find myself asking a lot, where are the women? Where are the queer people? Where are the people of color? Where are the people with a variety of disabilities and of kind of brain structures? Where is the neurodiversity? Where is it? And it's that thing, isn't it, Stu, in terms of this is kind of what Punker does. Having those people be part of, not just feature on stage and be like, oh, this is nice, but be part of the creation of what punker does and be part of the narrative means that when, in terms of Spotify picking you up for a playlist, that's one of the big reasons why that was because you had a unique perspective on the music industry and what music was good. You were a tastemaker that had interests that were outside of, yeah, this sounds really good because I've heard it on the radio, or this sounds really good because this big rock band played it that's all men, or this, you know what I mean? And I think what's very important in terms of music, because there's so much great stuff out there, isn't there? That we have to often, as queer people and as women, we often have to make our own platforms because they don't exist for us already.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
so-
that was the point of me doing the gigs, was the fact that I could, as a promoter, I could see that as a cis white gay man, I have certain privileges that other people don't. So being able to use that to say, right, okay, I can maneuver into certain places and then say, right, okay, now I can use that platform to give it to someone else and say, right, these artists have a voice, you need to listen to them, or this person needs to be listened to because they're not represented. And it's also about the kind of music they make as well, because, queer people make incredibly diverse music. They don't always stick to one genre. They don't always, stick to one era. And I think that can be quite confusing for some people, because some people like to follow an artist because they sound like this. And that's not what we do. We're incredibly, like, most queer people, like, soak up popular culture. Like, we're like a sponge. We just soak up all kinds of different, music and art and film and things like that. It's what we do because it's how we find ourselves through other people and through other mediums and through representation. So it's how we basically see ourselves reflected in other things as well, and also how we have to navigate the straight world. So the whole thing of just being able to sort of find yourself and say, hang on a minute, this is where I fit into all this craziness, but also this is where I'm going to make myself fit into the queer world, kind of thing. And that's going to be, it's difficult for an artist, so it shouldn't be difficult for a promoter. Like, I should be able to search for artists like yourself and say, right, okay, I can find the right lineup for you, the right night for you, the right venue, and not just go, okay, I need to fill a roster. It shouldn't be about, it shouldn't be about box ticking. It should be about doing what's right for everyone that's on that lineup and everyone that's in the room. And it can be a really easy job being a promoter if you do it right and you think about the people who you're serving and the people who are going to be performing for you, instead of your pocket and basically paying the venue. That all comes later. Like, that's fine. That's something we don't need to worry about. As long as we've paid them, that's fine. But everything else is what matters, because that's how you stick around, and it's also how you lift other people up. And that's the only way to do it, basically. So yeah, and I do want to book you for Punker, basically.
Yes, well, I think, if I'm gonna stick my oar in here and be like, if you book me, you have to book Carenza too.
Oh yeah, both of you, 100%. I was talking to both of you.
Double billers.
I was talking to both of you. Yeah, I mean, 100%. I would love to do that. I mean, the events that I've got going later on this year are slightly more punk, and so I've wanted to diversify a bit and just do a little bit more, like, I don't know, a bit more chilled out stuff, a bit weirder music, a little bit more electronic, a little bit more synthwave, stuff like that. Just like venture out into all sorts of things. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. We could definitely find something to put a good lineup on.
Oh, that all sounds good to me. I'm liking this immediately. I mean, again, if I could just kind of briefly jump in before I kind of ask Carenza for your angle on this. I've definitely found when I first released music, there are a few funny stories here. I remember one particular story. I performed at Moles in Bath, and I actually did only a handful of gigs. I'm very known in terms of my friends, and Carenza will attest to this. I go, yeah, I'm gonna do one gig, and Corenza's like, oh, like, this month, and I'm like, no, this year. Like, I'm
Like ever.
a bit like, ooh, because whenever I do live performance, I always have unnecessary level of technical equipment with me that I'm terrified is going to go wrong. So I'm like, ooh. But also, all jokes aside, on that note, I think honestly, and it's probably why I have enjoyed the gigs. I've always enjoyed the gigs I've played at Moles, and there's been other venues that I think have a similar vibe because there is something about the atmosphere of the staff and of the venue itself and its appreciation for music and its openness to music that is a little bit more left field. Now, of course, not all kind of LGBTQ identifying artists make left field music. We have, people within the world of hyperpop, dance, rock, indie, experimental, classical, jazz, of course. But I think even within the contemporary music field, there is often a trend of queer artists writing things that even if it's not left field, as you said, Stu, before, and as me and kind of Karenza were alluding to before, or kind of alluding to before, we have other influences, things that come in, again, this unique voice, this unique set of things. And the reason why it's unique, or a huge part of why it's unique, is because it's not seen anywhere near the same level as the same narratives that get told a lot, almost like the favorite stories. And I remember one particular story, and I'd love to ask Karenza about this, because I know there's a specific story in relation to yourself, Karenza, as well. I remember getting off stage playing a gig at Moles, and to be fair, one of my tracks at the time was called Sex Symbol, and the lyric was less body talk, more body scream. Bear that in mind. So obviously, very good Christian song, very clean. Very, I said 3 Hail Marys before I went on stage. Lol. But no, I remember, so, that song particularly is kind of a little bit hypersexual. It's got that kind of thing. But I remember I that was one song and I performed like 6, 7 in the set, and the other ones are very, at the time, very melancholy, very like ambient, all that kind of stuff. And I remember I got off stage, and somebody who was in my course at the time understood why he said it, but it kind of made me a bit go, huh? Even when I was singing Sex Symbol, I was pulling on my blazer a little bit. I was being quite like strong and powerful on stage. Again, Karenza and anyone who's seen me perform live can attest to kind of the way I do it. But I remember coming off stage and he was like, yeah, I love it. It's like really hypersexual, and it's really like, and it was interesting, but it's, yeah, I kind of pulled a bit of a face like, but what was interesting was later on in the evening. No, sorry, not later in the evening. A couple of weeks later, in fact, I was at a gig. We were watching someone, and the same person was there. And I remember the lead singer of the band it was kind of a kind of alt rock band, and he very much had like a David Bowie thing, and he had a bit of a glam rock thing going on, and he was doing lots of like hair whipping around the stage, doing the kind of sexy Mick Jagger-y type, very rock icon thing. And I turned to him and I said, he was actually next to me, and I thought this would be interesting, and I was like, what do you think of, what do you think of this singer? I'm such a shit stirrer. I'm like, what do you think of this singer? Like, what thoughts come to mind? As if I was like interested in what he thought about him. Well, I kind of was, but you know what I mean. And I remember him saying, like, yeah, he's really strong, and he's really got this energy. And I was like, that's the difference. And it was a little subtle thing, but what was interesting was when I was on stage as a queer person performing, I was sexual, and I was flirtatious, and I was what's the word? I was kind of like flamboyant, right? But when this guy was on stage, who was doing a lot more sexual gesturing than I was, he was strong and he was powerful, and it was partly because he was in a rock band. And it was partly because the way he presented was very much kind of glam rock, but he was for all intents and purposes, a straight cis man. And when he performed, he wasn't trying to seduce anyone, but when I performed, I was trying to seduce people. And the reason I'm kind of angling at that is because I want to kind of speak to you, Karenza, about this. Me and you've talked a little bit about this before. You kind of mentioned it earlier, this concept of like your music being like, ooh, you know, and you're like, I'm literally singing about like a pigeon or something, but people will turn it around. You know what I mean? I mean, okay, just to clarify, your first album was called Pigeons Think They're People. That's not me just randomly saying
I
pigeon.
know.
So tell me a little bit more about, kind of in relation to what I just said, your experiences in terms of people sexualizing your music almost when you didn't intend for them to do that, or the kind of artistry that you put out. I mean, you've talked about that before, and yeah, kind of how that made you feel when you were like, well, there's nothing wrong with that, but that wasn't my intention. Why are you trying to apply that to what I do all the time because I'm a woman who makes music?
Well, I haven't gone down the sexual route with my music at all. I
Mhm.
did do a photo shoot actually a few years ago where I was wearing a crop top, and it did show a little bit of boob, and I was just like, it was an empowerment move. I just felt so comfortable in my body for the first time in years, or probably
Mhm.
ever. Like, I'd recently gotten my first tattoo. I was feeling great. And I remember like actually having to delete a comment from a complete stranger on my picture saying, "You look like you cack." And I had to like Google what that meant. Apparently it just meant like, you look like you suck. And I'm like, okay, I don't know. But like
I'm sorry.
that's
I'm
just
sorry. I'm sorry.
that
I'm
was
sorry
just
to.
a photo.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just have to say this before I forget. CAC, where I'm from, and I'm pretty sure where
I've
a lot
never
of people in
heard
the
that word
UK,
before then.
if somebody said, "I bet you CAC relates to shit," and so it does. So it does. So CAC means shit. Stu, am I right?
Yeah. You're right.
Yes. So it's this person saying, "I bet you shit." I mean, it could you.
Yeah.
No.
Like, I
You.
hope so.
I mean, yeah, right. But this is the thing, because I'm not saying like he wasn't using this. He wasn't using CAC in that type of way. But it's
No,
making me laugh because
yeah.
I'm like,
You can
oh
tell
my
I
god.
grew up in Beijing where everything was very textbook English. I came to the UK, like, quick side story. I went to boarding school and I lived in Beijing. English is my first language, but I learned it very textbook. I didn't know slang. I get to boarding school in Surrey. I'm like innocent. I'm 14. And people are like, oh, do you think so and so's fit? And I'm like, yeah, he looks like he's got a healthy regimen. He's pretty built. He looks like he works out pretty well. And I was like, it took me way too long to realize they were not inquiring about other people's physical fitness and their regimen. But I basically said I fancied like 10 different people, and everybody just thought I was just boy crazy. But yeah, but going back to the
But you went boy crazy, to interrupt. You went boy crazy. You were crazy about health and fitness.
I was impressed by their
Vitamins.
dedication to lifting.
You were
That's
literally like,
brilliant.
"Do you even lift, bro?" But you were being quite
Literally,
literal. You were like,
that's
"Do
where my
you
mind
lift?"
went.
I love that.
Like,
I love that so
oh,
much.
but
That's so
yeah,
funny.
we were talking about sexualization. That's just in a photo. Because I actually like went online and I was like, I'm gonna delete this before my mum sees it. And like, I remember like I released this video, and a quick trigger warning for like sexual assault. I released this video and it was about sexual abuse and a sexual assault, something which I've had experience in. And basically, I wrote all of these quotes from abusers in what they said to their victims on my skin. And it was the first time I showed skin. It was the first time I like did something in my underwear, and it was written all over my skin. And you've got like literally quotes like, "But you're my girlfriend," things like that on there. It's messed up. And like, you had people like making light of it, commenting on my body. I deleted these comments. I couldn't let my mum see these. And like, one guy was even just so ignorant. He was like, "Yeah, I forget my lyrics too." And I'm like, "Those aren't lyrics, dude. Those are you'll be like, there's a description right there. Like, don't be a so that's just from media that I put out.
Mhm.
And it always, I feel like almost I unconsciously made myself less attractively sexy, if that makes sense. In the conventionally sexy, I've never seen myself as sexy. I've never seen myself as a sexual being in the eyes of other people, if that makes sense.
Totally
I
makes sense.
like my dungarees. I like, I just like things like that. I like wholesomeness. And I get comments on being a sexual being from mainly men at gigs if I've performed a regular set. A regular set where I've done nothing but just sing, play my keyboard, and I've just had a great time, and there are no songs or sexual references anywhere. And I will still get somebody like say things. I remember once somebody I was dating had someone turn to them, because I sing quite high, I have a pretty large range. He turned, like, the guy I was dating had someone turn to him and say, "Oh, like she sings this high. How high do you get her in the bedroom?" Like, that's just with me performing.
Who says that?
That's with me doing my
Who says
regular set. So I'm now scared that if I start feeling myself, if I start channeling that side of myself into my music, that it will almost come back. And I started to slowly let that go a little bit. So in my song Imaginary Friends, when I play it live and I'm playing piano, because I do everything acoustically right now, because of COVID I never had the chance to make my electronic setup a reality, so that's like on the top of my list, which is why I'm like, I really want to book gigs, but I don't want to just keep playing like stripped back. Yeah, you get it. But yeah, I started kind of like moving a bit more and expressing myself a bit more, and there's a line in there which is like, I was so awful lonely until they came to visit me. And instead of just singing like, I was so awful lonely, I would go, oh, I'm gonna like over exaggerate now. I hate myself.
Do it.
I go, I was so awful lonely until, and it like people, you can see why that might be misconstrued. Do you know what I mean?
It's so.
I always do like a little bit of this because I feel it, but I almost every time I do that, I'm waiting for someone to make a comment. I'm waiting for someone to sexualize
Ridiculous.
it. It's about your imaginary friends. It's about being sick of people. That song. It's not about anything sexual. It's literally about wanting to be with your imaginary friends because real people suck. And I'm just waiting for someone to sexualize that performance and the delivery. And it's definitely being sexualized as a female, let alone as a queer female. Like, oh, I'm so scared for that to happen. I really am.
They can literally eat my boot if they do that, Lorenza, so good luck to them.
I'll just call you and be like, hey, can you come to kick this person in the face?
I'll be like, I'll be round in 10 minutes in my platform boots. Let's go.
Yes, here we go.
I'll be like, Stu, hold them down. I'll like kick them off the arse.
Oh, I love this. It's become like a proper like assemble. Here we go.
Yeah.
But yeah, because gigs are very rarely a safe space for women, let alone a queer woman.
Sure.
And it scares me. It almost scares me sometimes playing gigs, and being completely transparent, it's one of the reasons I started playing less gigs before COVID.
That's a shame. That's a really, like, as a promoter, that makes me feel fucking terrible. Just because it's not,
and it should make promoters feel terrible. That's the thing, isn't it? If we have these knowledge, women like yourself, Karenza, are coming out and are speaking about this, and queer people are coming out and being like, I don't feel comfortable in gigs because I don't like the way that staff have treated trans people in this venue, or I don't like the way that these venues have been very specific about the types of music they want played. And to add on to that, I have been told by a number of people in the music industry, if anyone knows, in the past, there's been a few times when I was young, I actually had a track be filmed for a BBC documentary when I was like 13, 14, and it wasn't that particular interview, but it was another kind of thing that I was doing for the BBC, another audition at the time. And I was told by a producer that they didn't really want to pick my track because it was too gay sounding. And I was like, right,
What does that mean?
okay.
Like, can they not?
Oh, well, obviously I was 14 and I was gay, so I talked about sucking dick in the song, and obviously they had to cut it. I don't know why. No, they did. Literally, the song was called Freak Show. Yeah, it was about being a freak. But it was more Lady Gaga than it was Kings of Leon, let's say. And again, things have changed and times changed, but there is a lot of this kind of even if those discussions have to happen where, if a song isn't appropriate for something or a song doesn't fit, I think we have to, surely we have to, from an industry point of view, all levels, promoters, people who work in sync, people who work in agencies, PR, marketing, artists, creative teams, designers, everybody that's involved in the music industry and wider, and fans of music as well. We have to move, surely, away from these descriptions of music being I mean, I will describe it. I'll be like, oh yeah, it's very kind of queer-centric music. I think these things are important to remind us where the culture of a certain music comes from. Like when we focus on music from black communities, or we focus on music from a specific nationality, for an example. But I also think from a music industry point of view, the people that often put queer created music in a box is not queer people. It is people who are not queer, who are not LGBTQ identifying, that go, oh, and you see it a lot with. There's a lot of kind of stories of some of the most famous Rue girls, who they didn't get signed to major labels, even though their tracks were massive, and they didn't get signed to PR things because the PR agencies did not see their music as drag artists as legitimate music. They saw it as a joke, or that it was constantly comedic. And I think it's an example of the kind of way in which we will immediately go drag queen, comedy, female singer, probably doesn't write her own stuff, is sexy. Queer non-binary artist trying to be kooky, trying to be weird, probably a bit of a wild card. We still, especially kind of outside of queer music industry, we still kind of put people in these boxes, and it harms everyone because there could be cis, straight, etc. identifying people who have and take a lot from the queer artists that are out there and are very inspired by their unique voices. And they might also get grouped into that, being like, no, your music screams not straight enough or not cis enough to fit in this bill. And I think it's something that hopefully is changing. And I think in regards to what I do, what you do, Krenza, and what you do, Stu, I think obviously people are paying more attention to the work that we do. And hopefully the work that we do, I always think in terms of the future, will be slightly paving the way for the next generation of artists and music fans to be able to discover people. Because against you, much like the event that you run, Punka, and you founded, the availability of these things compared to 10, 15 years ago, it's definitely improved. We are on an upswing. And that's not me being faux positive. That's just me thinking, well, it's definitely going somewhere. Let's keep that momentum. Let's keep that fight for women, for queer people, for minorities, for any marginalized voice in music and culture. Let's make sure they're represented. Let's make sure we give them platforms, as you said, like Spotify did for Punka. Put your money where your mouth is, because we all like to maybe think we're in I would like to hope we're in a socialistic paradise. Clearly we're not. But money is literally going to help, as you said, queer events and queer artists, who don't really get funding from maybe typical places, get access to things that we need to continue on, and it's very important. So I just want to say, sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say, I think the thing is as well, it all begins grassroots, because the problem is promoter, like record labels and people in marketing don't always know how to market queer people, and they don't always know how to market to queer people, which is why, I mean, so for instance,
Sashay Queen, listen to this playlist.
Yeah, this is it. So I mean, for example, I was contacted by a national promoter to promote quite a big queer punk band, but it was because basically they said, let's collaborate on this so that you can promote it too. And they were basically saying, oh, it's because you can reach their audience better than we can because you already put on queer nights and stuff, and we don't know how to reach their audience or what they're like or who should be support and things like that. And in a way, I was like, that's great that you're actually doing the work and you're contacting a promoter and trying to get to
Good
their
first
audience.
step. Yeah.
That's good. But in another way, it's like, well, okay, yeah, that's fine. But also on the flip side, you clearly don't know what you're doing, but you've still booked this person. So it means that someone like a queer promoter like me, I can't book that person because you've already got there. You're getting the money, but you don't know what to do with this artist. So it's really difficult. And also, I do think that the support needs to come from the sort of ground level as well, with people who go to shows and gigs and stuff, because it's all right saying that we can spend like 30, 40, 50 pounds on a ticket to go and see someone at the O2 or someone at the Academy, or going to various places to see one artist 50 quid. But you ask people to put take the hand out of the pocket for 6 quid for 3 bands, and it's literally like pulling teeth. It's like you'll really like these bands, and they're like, yeah, but it's £6, and it's and it's like it's really difficult. And the thing is, those bands that you are paying 50 quid to see, they started somewhere. They paid small gigs at some point. They were doing this work, and the only way for you to find out about new artists, about queer artists, about diverse bands, about all these different things, about neurodivergent bands, and all these different things is to actually just start going to more shows. And it's really difficult for people to take that leap. But I know so many people that have come to one of my gigs or one of my friends' gigs who have been like, oh wow, okay, I just took a chance on this, and I'm obsessed with all of these bands. When's your next show? Because that's how to get people into it. That's how to get people. They're like, oh wow, this was surprisingly professional, and you're like, thanks, but also come again. It's
It's like breaking down those myths, isn't it? Breaking down those taboos, as both you and Karen have been talking about, as an event promoter, being like, there is more to the world than the standard shows, and actually that should be exciting for everyone, including those big arenas, because people are like, oh, actually live music's really cool, and there's all these different levels to it, and there's cabaret, and there's small drag acts, and there's small acoustic singer-songwriters and jazz things, there's live street performers, there's huge artists with massive production, there are medium-sized artists that have just broken onto the arena or the O2 scene or whatever it is. All of that is so valid. What I'd like to do, just because we're running a little bit out of time, is I would like to invite people in the chat now to ask some questions. So if there's anything kind of quick that you would like to know about Kren's Rush Stew that they could answer in a short minute or so, then feel free to ask. Now is the perfect opportunity. In the meantime, while we are waiting for some of those questions in, I warned you guys about this. You better be ready. It is time for the quick fire round of questions. Okay, so these questions are absolutely stupid, and I wrote them before, and I just thought this is really, really funny. What I'm going to do is I'm going to angle a question at one person. I will say, Stu, you have to respond in, I'm not going to count it, but 5 seconds. I'm going to give you around 5 seconds to answer.
Okay.
First thing that comes to mind. If you struggle, throw something in there, make it silly. All good, but it has to be the first thing that comes to mind. So I'm going to say Stu, a question, then I'll move to Karenza, a question. You both have different sets of questions. You will not be asked the same thing. I'm totally choosing it randomly, and I've slightly curated it based on what I know that you're interested in and what you like. So, as I've said, whilst we're asking these questions, make sure that you get any questions that you've got in for Karenza, Stu, myself, Bristol Gamers, anything like that, pop it in the chat, and we will answer them either on this, or if we run a little bit out of time, I will be in the chat for the final event of this evening, which will be Jackbox and other party games that you can all join in on if you'd like, and I'll be in that chat also ready to answer some questions as well. So let's get started, and I'm going to ask the first question to... Oh, is it going to be... Karenza, favourite Studio Ghibli film?
Ponyo and Totoro Tide.
Okay, brilliant. Stu, was Bimini Bon Boulash robbed?
I have no idea because I stopped watching Drag Race because there's too much of it.
so agree. Carenza, innie or outie?
I don't know what that means. Oh, belly button. Oh.
I wasn't asking a very, very personal question there. That wasn't some sort of weird, horrible transphobic question about genitals.
What? No,
You're like,
I'm
what?
out now. That's the point of...
I wasn't asking about you. I was just like, choose one. Stu, bears or cubs?
Neither. Don't box me in.
Oh, I like it. Carenza, name your favorite city in the whole world.
Hong Kong.
Okay, Stu, what's one thing that you love that many people hate?
Oh God, garbage.
The band, by the way, just to clarify, Stu, you're not really into like digging through bins, just to clarify. Yeah. Yeah, literally, Stu's a raccoon. Cancel Stu. Hashtag cancel Stu. Carenza, Marmite, yay or nay?
Yay.
Yay.
Oh no! My expectations of you two have gone downhill. Stu, oh wait, where's my? Oh yeah, waffles or pancakes?
Oh, pancakes.
Oh, okay, Carenza, worst band or artist that everybody's heard of?
I don't want to throw shade.
Throw shade, do
Throw
it.
shade.
Oh,
Do it. Do you know what? I actually really like Coldplay, and I think people are mean to them. But like, that's fine.
No.
I'm kidding. No, they are like a band that people love to hate. But like, I've never listened to a song by them I didn't like. Maybe because they're very like, you know.
Short period of time. It's like.
Yeah. Anyway, questions. Stu, what is your favorite video game or game series ever made?
Mortal Kombat.
Oh, I literally have my Mortal Kombat t-shirt. I'm not gonna get it because I'm running out of time.
Mortal Kombat statues right there.
Iconic. Carenza, what is the best band or artist that no one's ever heard of before?
You.
Oh, shut up! I'm no joke.
It's very true.
I'm no joke. I was about to say besides me and you, Ovs. But like, I didn't want to like interrupt you because of the delay. That's so funny that you were literally like, you. Oh my God, Carenza, choose you by our music. What? Another question. Stu, vanilla or tutti frutti?
Vanilla.
Man, come on. No. Carenza, top 3 celebrity crushes.
Timothy Chalamet, Halsey, and I don't know, some other person.
Me.
You.
Because I'm a celebrity, obviously. I knew you got a crush on me. I think I have another one somewhere. Wait. Yeah, Stu, what is one thing that you hate that everyone loves?
Oh God. I can't think.
It can be anything.
Game of Thrones.
Oh, controversial. No, I've never really watched it either. There was a lot of incest. I heard that.
Oh,
So
there
I
was
was like-
a lot. Like 10 minutes in.
Like, you know what?
Sorry.
Like 10 minutes in. 10 minutes in, and it was brother sister boner time. It was just like not
I
good.
couldn't even
Like, what
finish
is
the
it?
first season, and even with all of that.
Guys, I'm going to read out some of the comments before we
Oh,
go
yeah.
on to some of the questions quickly. So we have the wonderful. Wait there, it'll come up. Philip Leach says it's a perfect vocal like Kate Bush or Sophia Portina, I think you say. You are strong. Ooh! It's so funny again. Me and Carenza have talked a lot about how one of my favorite artists of all time, Kate Bush, and Carenza share commonalities in terms of where their music comes from and what they like to do with music. Obviously, like anything within that genre, that style, absolutely has your own take on it. But Kate Bush, like I always say, is one of the most celebrated singer-songwriters of all time. And so the fact that anybody would be like, "Oh my God, you sound like Kate Bush,"
That's a huge compliment.
I promise you, it's a huge compliment. Like, I would never say anyone sounded or had an element of Kate Bush unless I really admired them. So, because I'm a huge fan. So, Rob Hinks agrees with Philip. A question for Stu from Claire. We have Stu. What were your standout moments of Punker, and who would be your dream booking other than garbage?
Dream booking would be it'd be a tie between either Gossip or Skunk Anansi. But I'd be happy with that. Or Blood Red Shoes. I can't decide. Anyway, so standout moments for me are I can't not mention the all dayer that I did with Claire. We did a queer all dayer at the beginning of 2020, and it was just. It was beautiful, and it was like the smoothest running all day you've ever seen in your life as well. It was like down to the minute. Every act was on time. It was beautiful. But my favourite punker moments are at the end of every club night. We always play What's Up by Four Non Blondes, and everyone sings along. And sometimes we all stand in a circle and just sing it to each other. And it's honestly the most wholesome, beautiful thing you've ever seen in your life. And that's what I love. So that's it.
That's amazing. I love that. We're jumping on to the next question as well. This is for both of you. We're going to start with Karenza from The Fabulous Nick. We have, what are your Desert Island songs? For time, let's go Desert Island song. What's one song, if you could take it on a Walkman or an MP3 player? Wow, I'm really showing my age. A vinyl player, a gramophone. If you could take it in some form of smoke signal. If you could take a track that would keep you sane on a desert island, what would it be, Karenza? Number one.
Kidnap the Sandy Claus from Nightmare Before Christmas.
Kidnap the Santa Claus, throw him in a bag. What a fucking banger! What a banger! I really want to go to bed tonight and watch Nightmare Before Christmas. I love it so much. And Stu, what about you? What is your number one desert island song?
It would be my favourite song of all time, which is a song called Yes by McAlmont and Butler. If you haven't heard it, it's beautiful.
Beautiful. Mwah. Love that. I love the chef kiss as well. I do that so often. Philip Leach says, how do you feel the bi community is marginally or somewhat sidelined, depending on whether female bisexual person or male bisexual person? That's a really, really good question. Stu or Karenza, anyone wanna jump in on that one?
That's not for me. I am not bi. I'm just a gay dude. So I'll pass it over.
Karenza, my darling?
I feel like people often are like, oh, you're greedy, you're just trying to make up excuse eating, it's not valid, you're just trying to make yourself sexy for men to like you better. I feel like it's often very invalidated. People just think you're like either super greedy or you just can't make up your mind. And if anything, it just means that you just, to me, like, it doesn't matter. Do you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't. I'm not trying to be greedy. I'm not trying to not be able to make up my mind. I'm just like liking people. Like, let me be. But
a very normal experience. Yeah.
People make it a fetish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
in regards to, I mean, obviously, I know you obviously identify as a woman and you are bisexual. In terms of, I mean, obviously, I was going to say I can't necessarily, my experience of my sexuality has changed many a time, and I'm kind of a little bit more fluid in my concept of what sexuality I'm attracted to nowadays. I think it is notable, to answer Philip's question, kind of being fluid sexually over the past few years myself. I think in terms of how bisexual men are perceived, there is definitely I would say bisexual women often have to contend with a lot of the sexualization of them. Would you want to be in a threesome with me? Again, to kind of not speak for bisexual women. I think bisexual men, one common thing that I know from friends of mine and also in my own experiences, is people can again kind of erase you, and often it goes very much. It's kind of interesting, and kind of correct me if I'm wrong, with bisexual women, certainly a significant portion of the time, it's like, oh, you're confused. As in, you're confused and you're probably straight. Oh, no, sorry. You're probably straight. When it comes to bisexual men, however, it's you're confused, you're probably gay. And I think that's really interesting because it's like, do men really think that they're that interesting? That no matter what, people of other gender identities are not more interesting than cis men. Because let me tell you now, with all the love in the world, there are many more interesting people of all kinds of genders and identities. you know, cis men, you ain't shit hot of your own volition. You know what I mean? Like, the fact that you're cis and a man does not make you instantly more interesting. In fact, you have to fight a little bit harder for it because, you know, life's handed you a card. And I mean that with the greatest love in the world, but I honestly. And Stu's like, yeah, to be honest.
Yeah, fair.
Rob says, Coldplay, dancer. Philip Leach going through some of these questions quickly. Philip Leach says, a lighter question. Favorite franchise? I don't know whether I'm guessing we're talking about films here. Favorite film franchise, guys? Stu or Karenzi want to jump in?
I don't even think I have a favorite film franchise. I have like favorite films in a franchise. I guess like the MCU, is that a franchise?
Yeah, sure.
You know, yeah. Other than that, it'd be like, you know, Final Destination.
I love that, like MCU and then like films about people dying.
Yeah.
I love that. Mine would probably be the Alien series of films. I'm a big sci-fi horror geek. When I say the Alien films, I specifically really mean 1, 2, little bits of 3, and Prometheus, and everything else can kind of, we just forget that it's there. Karenza, what about yourself?
Anything Studio Ghibli, and also Demon Slayer and Attack on Titan and Tokyo Ghoul, and
yes,
nice.
And also
okay.
My Academia.
Quick comment from Rob Hinks here. Oh my god, this is such a good thing. I'd love to hear Karenza cover Kate Bush's Experiment 4. Oh yes, you have to. Just for our amusement. Have you heard Experiment 4 by Kate Bush, Karenza?
No,
it's one of my absolute favourite tracks.
Kate Bush much because I would.
You were like copy her, yeah.
I was like, so because people say like.
You're gonna come to me with the latest single and you're gonna be like, so I wrote this song called Running Up That Mountain, and I'd be like, you know, there's another track by her called Hounds of Love, and you'd be like, I've got this song called Dogs of Hate, and I'd be like, sounds familiar. So just kind of skipping through the last few messages here, we have Philip saying, these topics have been very wholesome. Well done, chums, and a great conversation covering many aspects. It is our pleasure. I don't mean to do a final plug. Jack is just saying Alien versus Predator doesn't exist. I agree. I don't know what you're talking about.
The comics are great. The film, not so much.
And the Predator films are great, but you know when they joined together, it was like, I'm gonna just, you know, imagine they don't exist. So we are going to wrap up things here. Just want to kind of shout out, obviously, as I mentioned, Sounds Queer in this format and potentially as an audio podcast as well will be coming out at some point this year. You know what I'm like for making a million plans. It will eventually happen, I promise. But just kind of look out for that. If you want updates on when that's going to happen, and if you would like to see Karenza and Stu on there again, or if you wouldn't, just follow me. I am JT Leon on Instagram for updates on that if you found this thing particularly interesting. Also, to plug myself, because I'm full of myself, you can... Ooh, whoops, hang on. Come on, show up. Okay, you can follow me on Instagram, Twitch, and streaming services. I'm just going to pop a thing in the chat for you to find me, if it works. Hello. Hang on. More JT Leon. I set this all up and then didn't use the links once. Classic me. So you can find my big link there with all my stuff, Twitch, Instagram, anything that you'd like to do. For the fabulous Karenza as well. You can follow Karenza on Instagram and on streaming services. On Instagram, it's I'm Karenza, and you can type more Karenza on the Twitch chat, which I will do for you now for some links for you to follow.
Following, bear with.
Bear with. Standing by.
Bear with.
More Karenza. Come on, work. It will come up on the Twitch chat for anyone. For anybody that's... Oh. Why didn't it work? No! Why didn't it work? Wait. Have I misspelled Karenza or something? No, I didn't. It's right.
People always...
What the... No, but I didn't, though. Maybe it's because I did that. But that wouldn't make sense, so I don't really understand. Okay, I'm going to try it again. Yay!
Oh!
Does it work? Yay! It works! I had to put a capital on the M. Who knows? So for Karenza, as I said, we have Spotify playlist there for This Is Corenza, and we also have her Instagram, so make sure that you follow her there for music updates. Also, Corenza, just before obviously I let you go, do you want to tell us very quickly, you have a new single out more recently called Twinkle Twinkle, and you have an EP coming out very soon too.
I do. I just released a single called Twinkle Twinkle, which is a cover of Twinkle Twinkle Little Star in the style of Nightmare Before Christmas with a trap beat under it, with an added verse about the Amazon being on fire and a string section.
Yes, it is. So your typical radio friendly song, really.
Yeah, took me a year and a half of refining before I sent it off for mixing. Like, took 2 whole Logic projects, one for vocals and one for lyrics. Like, this was a big boy. this one was big.
That is so classic.
Yeah, so yeah, feel free to check that out. There's a video for it soon. We shot the rest of it yesterday. But yeah, EP out soon with several genres. But before like anything else, I didn't get a chat earlier, but like thank you for creating like a safe space for queer and female artists, because I've only found one company that does that kind of thing, and that's So Far Sound. So it's so far. So it's just really nice. It's just really nice to see, because the last gig I played, I had a stalker. So thank you, thank you, because that kind
I'll
of.
make sure you're looked after. Honestly, come and.
Corenza, don't call me out live on stream.
I'm so sorry. No.
That's so embarrassing for me. I'm gonna gaslight you now. How could you? That's disgusting.
Like with little holes. Yeah.
Like that with like ridiculous oversized binoculars. Moving on to Stu, we've got follow Stu Punker on Instagram and Spotify. You can find Stu at Punker Bristol and at StuTube. I'm also going to type in this command for you. It will come up with the link to Punker Bristol.
Yeah.
Bear with me 1 second. More Punker Stu. Look at me, I'm a tech whiz. Woo! My IT teacher would be proud of me. So yeah, you can follow and listen to Punker's playlists here. 2 playlists I would particularly recommend, obviously, is the Punker Pride playlist, which is incredible and was curated with Spotify. And then there's another one where, I'm not going to lie, my song features on it, so you should definitely follow it, called Queers to the Front, which is all music, a playlist full of kind of queer-fronted artists and bands that have really kind of influenced the rise of kind of queer-fronted and centric music.
It takes you on a journey. It goes all over the place with genres. So it
does. I really love that, because I listened to every song in it, and I was like, I love this. There's such a good eclectic mix, as you were saying before. I just want to close off by saying thank you all very, very much for being here. Thank you again we had a bit of technical problems getting started, so I appreciate the little run over time. Please stay tuned in the Facebook Bristol Gamers group if you are there, or on the YouTube chat. You might have noticed today that today's been a little bit segmented. What I recommend that you do is it will pass over to Dave now, who's going to be doing Jackbox games and things like that. So what I recommend that everybody does in the chat is to go back to the Bristol Gamers page, the YouTube channel page, wait a couple minutes, refresh the page, and it should come up with the new live video of Dave doing the last event of the day. I will be there in the chat to probably cause mayhem and fuck shit up like I usually do. But a big thank you and shout out to my wonderful guests, Corenza and Stu. I love you guys very, very much. Thank you for being here. It's been a pleasure. And I will see you, beautiful people, on the other side. See you for the rest of the events, and hopefully see you maybe at a gig soon or something.
Take care.
I will see you all later.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Bye.